Okay, I can hear you. It's fine. Well, what's going on?
Oh, hi, Brendan. Nothing's going on. I was just calling. I didn't know if I had the right number or not.
How'd you get this number? You said you didn't have it. You asked me for the number.
Well, that's why I mean, there's some numbers in the phone.
What
So,
phone? I thought you don't even have a cell phone. You have a landline.
yeah, well, it's in the landline.
No, a landline doesn't. Well, okay, I guess so.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
I got you, Brendan. Anyway.
what do you mean you got me?
Well, I tried a number that was in the landline, and it turns out it's yours.
Hmm.
So, that,
That's interesting to hear. What do you mean by
yeah.
that?
Well, is that a problem?
Well, I didn't actually give you my number.
No, you didn't. But I had it in my number in the phone from, I guess, from either you calling me or me calling you or something.
How do you feel about me today?
How do I feel about you?
We had an interesting conversation. I mean, I told you about all my difficulties and the trials and tribulations I've had. You seemed really depressed listening to it all, like listening to everything bad that's happened to me. You seemed really sad, like depressed beyond
Yeah.
words.
Well, I'd be much happier if you were happy. But
Happy.
I
I
guess.
hate that. I don't almost I get tired of hearing happy. The references to Kurt Cobain's Sappy 16294 songs. Like I actually came up with a replacement word for happy. Like I call myself Japan instead of happy. Just because like I do not want to reference Sappy 16294 ever again.
Well, look, Brennan, it doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
This is. I just called the number because I thought that it was yours. It
Mm-hmm.
might be, and I was just calling just to check, and I guess I was right.
Check, 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 check. Hold on a
Yeah.
second. So
Anyway,
yeah,
I don't have anything to talk about.
you
The
don't
cat.
have anything to talk about, do you?
Well, sometimes I do. I mean, I could tell you about the cat.
What about the cat?
Well, the cat was. I think she's quite lonely.
Hmm. I told you about that girl I was planning to see, Serena. What do you think about her?
About Serena.
Yeah,
No, I don't remember which girl is Serena.
Serena's the girl I wanted to see. I told you about her. I told you I regretted telling you about her. But, yeah, what did you think about her?
Well, I didn't meet her, Brendan.
Well, I guess you didn't meet her, but,
No, I didn't.
yeah.
So all I
So,
have is
how
what
are
you
you
told me.
feeling today, Anya?
How am I feeling
How
today?
are you feeling today, Anya?
Well, I'm feeling okay.
Hmm.
Not
Yeah.
great, but okay.
Huh. Do you love me?
Of course, I love you.
Sometimes I have difficulty believing that, with your behavior. You've really, well, demonstrated a lack of love in the past. You've improved lately, but in the last year, 2018, you really kind of pillaged my life. To be honest, I mean, it was the Alzheimer's that did it, but it was not a good time for
Brendan,
me.
I look. You keep bringing up the Alzheimer's, but the Alzheimer's is not a big deal. I mean, I'm not. I don't have it severely. I don't know. Most people wouldn't even know if you didn't say anything about
It's
it.
so weird. Well, I've told many people about everything. Everyone knows about the Alzheimer's.
Right. Yeah.
I've told everyone about Alzheimer's. Everyone.
Okay. About me.
Yes, I've told everyone
Right.
about you.
Yeah.
After Sam and Johnny were saying, like, you were scheduled to go to a mental asylum back, I believe, April of 2018, when you falsely put me in the mental asylum on bullshit charges. Yeah, Sam and Johnny were saying you were scheduled to go to the asylum like in a month or two, and it just kept getting delayed.
Wait, no, I don't understand.
Well, it's just, oh no, you probably don't remember because of the Alzheimer's, but you see, Sam and in April of 2018, Sam and Johnny kept saying, "Oh, Anya's on her way to the asylum." So they kept saying that.
Well, I guess they didn't. It didn't happen.
No, I never did it?
Yeah,
I
not
mean, I
not
told
that
everyone
I
about the
know.
Alzheimer's. Everyone knows about the Alzheimer's.
I wish you wouldn't keep talking about it. I don't know why you tell people about it.
Well, it's just, it just, well, that's the thing. You say that it doesn't affect you, but really, then why did you behave in that manner?
In what manner, Brendan?
Well, do you remember when you put me in the hospital in April of 2018? Do you remember that?
No, I don't remember.
Interesting. Well, maybe the Alzheimer's is more advanced than you think. That was a very difficult time for me.
Why was it difficult?
You did a lot of really cruel, hurtful things before you put me in that hospital for no reason.
Well, I apologize if I did anything awful to you.
Really? Well, I mean, I guess it's not your fault because of the Alzheimer's, but if you don't remember, maybe you should be in an asylum. Sorry, no, I'm sorry. That's a cruel thing to say, but it's just if you don't remember any of those things you did to me, maybe you're more unwell than you realize. I mean, you seem quite well. That's the thing. Talking to you, you seem quite.
You're not telling me what I did to you.
Well, for instance, when I was making friends in EcoCast Andy's Discord, starting in January 2018, when I was making friends in EcoCast Andy's Discord, I'd been alone and lonely for at least 5 years, ever since being locked in that horrible building, the 81 Wilson Park Road, where everyone accused me of things I didn't do, and then they tormented me with roaches, and tormented me with physical abuse, and tormented me with everything. And, after, it resulted in, I abandoned friendships, and after about 5 years of just pure loneliness, I finally, in January of 2018, I got on EcoCast Andy's Discord, and I started making friends, and I started doing better.
Right.
But then, you see, the thing is, as soon as I started making friends on EcoCast Andy's Discord, you got really mean. Really mean. You were doing horrible, cruel things to me. And it all it culminated in, at the end of EcoCast Andy's Discord. Well, what happened? Ultimately, your cruelty towards me resulted in my behavior towards Valeda, as a result of just the stress I was put under by your behavior. She wound up running out of there, dating a guy who was supposed to be my best friend. And, and I was feeling quite bad about that. Ultimately, at a time when I'd really been never more depressed, when Valeda ran off pillaging my life, you kind of chose that moment to be really excessively cruel to me, unusually cruel. And that was the thing. One of in the capacity hearing, it was mentioned that I had cut myself, as if there was evidence of mental disorder. But really, Anya, when I cut myself, that was more as after 4 months of horrific abuse from you, resulting in basically Valeda storming out, and when I went off the pills, and then basically I was in a bad state when Valeda, my love, broke up with me, was the issue. I was in a bad state at that time. And then what happened? Well, you started, you were horrible the whole time, but the night when I cut myself, see, that was used in the capacity hearing to as evidence to institutionalize me. But what happened was, you yelled at me about Japanese food for half an hour. The price of Japanese food is what the topic of the conversation was. You were talking about the price of Japanese food, and just horrible yelling abuse. I think the Alzheimer's was more advanced then. It seems to have receded a bit. But at that time, you were very sick with Alzheimer's, and you were very abusive that day. Half an hour of just horrible abuse. And then culminating in, at the end of the half-hour abuse session after Valeda ran off. Well, what happened? You then told me at the end of the conversation that, you didn't want to pay for the Japanese food. That's what it was. Do you remember that?
No.
Yeah, well, that was it. That was when I cut myself, which was used in the capacity hearing against me. And,
Which capacity?
Oh, that was just a week or two ago in the hospital here. It was raised. You see, the issue that I had cut myself was raised, along with the issue that Johnny and Sam had been. They'd said many things about me that were used in the capacity hearing to institutionalize me, but they had also been very cruel. They basically tried to kill me in the streets. Is the issue? I don't know why the testimony of your brothers was so.
Sam and Johnny were not
No, Sam and Johnny visited, and when they were there, that was when they basically came up with the idea of just starting to kick me out in the streets all the time, for nothing, just horrible, undirected, unprovoked abuse from Sam and Johnny. But the issue was not that. It was just that at the end of you yelling at me about the price of Japanese food, well, what happened then? Yeah, you told me that you weren't going to pay for the Japanese food. You told me that. You said you wouldn't pay for the Japanese food. And then at that point, I'm just like, oh, and you can I just have a slice of pizza for $5? And then you started yelling at me about the price of pizza. It was interesting. Do you remember that?
No, I don't remember that.
Well, anyway, at the culmination of that, like, it was just, Valeda running out was a soul-crushing event for me. And the price of Japanese food, after half an hour of abuse on that day, oh, whew, that was a rough day for me. And then you yell at me for half an hour about the price of Japanese food, and then you wouldn't pay for it, and then I asked for a slice of pizza, and you wouldn't pay for the pizza either. So, what happened next? Well, basically at that point, bizarre. I understand it was a mentally disordered thing to do, and I never cut myself anymore. But what happened was I was so stressed out from this scenario that I got a thing of nail clippers, and I did a big long cut down my arm. And I would never do it again. And I was a foolish. I've gotten to the point where I would never cut myself for any woman. I would never harm myself ever under any circumstances anymore. But back then I was a different man, and I was weak. And yeah, so I cut myself as a result of that horrible abuse session, which was the result of about 4 months of abuse, is the issue. And see, that's the thing. This was reported to the capacity hearing a few weeks ago, and it was used as evidence against me in the capacity hearing. Do you remember that?
Brendan,
You were there, Anya. You were there in the capacity hearing the whole time. Did you,
I don't remember.
Anya? Just think. Do you remember any of the capacity hearing?
What?
Do you remember any of the capacity hearing? It was only a week or two ago.
Yes, I remember it clearly.
Well, then, do you remember the moment in the capacity hearing when the evidence you reported that I had cut myself was used? Do you remember that?
No, I don't remember that.
Then I guess the Alzheimer's is worse than you think. But whatever. It's not an issue.
I'm getting off the phone.
Okay, I'm sorry. No, Anya, can I apologize? I'm sorry. I'm being cruel. Can I apologize, please? Can you forgive me? Anya, are you there? Hey, Carrie. Sorry about the politeness thing. Well, no, I mean, I think ultimately politeness is more of a matter of opinion than anything. But
Well, we appreciate it. That's
you
why I
appreciate
was here,
you appreciate some politeness. I get that. Ultimately, I think it comes down to a matter of opinion more than just whether you. Okay, it's just I don't know. I mean, if you think people should be polite, that's fine. But
We do.
Yeah,
Especially
you do.
when you're making requests from people. You know, I understand it's your
Yeah.
phone, but you know.
well, it is my
always-
phone.
it's
It's just
always nice to
I
say
mean, why do you think I should be polite, Carrie?
Because we're polite with you, are we not?
Not really. This thing, you're not really very respectful to me. Is the issue? You ask for politeness, but you're not really always that polite.
I've actually never spoken to you before.
Yeah, I know. Well, I know. I'm just okay. I'm sorry. I shouldn't demand. Well, I don't know. I think ultimately I'd be making the same demands I'm objecting to from you. Okay. Well, thank you anyway, Carrie, Miss Carrie. Oh, hey, Chatterbox. How's it going? Nice to see you again, Chatterbox. All right. Anyway. All right. Anyway, I should get back to my room. Realize that illness is just part of itself, not the whole self. Learn strategies to manage symptoms. Confront and overcome stigma. Develop self-respect. Take control of your life. Build self-esteem.
Believe that recovery is possible. Commit to change. Focus on strengths. Look forward. Celebrate small steps. Reorder priorities and cultivate optimism. Hope. Ultimately, Carrie, Miss Carrie, the big fat Miss Carrie. After a conversation with Anya like I just had, where it was a very interesting scenario. Yeah, basically to be told good night from you today is not a good look for you, and yeah, it's really just embarrassing you to say good night in such a transparent manner, Carrie. I know you're just wishing me well, and you demand politeness, but today I don't really want politeness, Carrie. I just want to be left the hell alone. I know you demand politeness, Carrie, and that's why you said good night. Oh, that's why you said please, demanding. Yeah. Ultimately, I'm not a paranoid man. I would describe, if I was, I would describe that as an incompetent murder threat. That makes your situation way worse, Carrie. But, well, I assume that's just politeness from the mind of some retard who'd believe politeness is the key issue today. No, it couldn't be an incompetent murder threat, Carrie. It couldn't, no, nothing of the sort. That's just a flight of fancy. I'm always lying. It's not lying, it's just a show I put on. Anyway, have a good day, Carrie. Good night.
Hey, Connor, can I talk to you for a minute? Okay, just so you know, I'm recording this, so if you don't worry, it's indeed you're being informed, so it ain't an issue and it's not about you. But just oddly, everyone is acting very fucking strange today, and this lady Carrie, just on a day when I'm already having a weird conversation with Anya, this lady Carrie just made a really sort of, I would describe it almost, well, let's see. If there was anything untoward going on, I would describe that good night she said to me as borderline a threat, more than anything. But of course, there's nothing going on. So what do you think? I mean, obviously, it would be senseless to just post the recording of me coming back and talking to her afterwards, because without anything actionable going on already, it would be more likely to condemn me to release that tape than anything. But what do you think? Should I hang on to it? I definitely shouldn't release this, right? And yeah, keep in mind you're being recorded now, so it ain't an issue. And it's not about you. It's about like literally Carrie, the loser. You're my friend, and that ain't an issue. It's like literally, shall I just hang on to this tape in case anything goes on?
I don't understand why you think her saying good night is a threat to you.
Good point. I'm just being paranoid. Well, basically, okay. Let me put it this way: there's zero reason to think that there's any reason to worry about that, right? So I would say there's no reason to release the tape, and technically, it's not a threat at all. It's just basically I would describe it as if there was anything political going on, it would be a threat. Now, if there's no politics going on, then definitely not a threat, and either way, there's probably no reason to release it, whether politics or not. Releasing it simply opens me up to prosecution, almost for defamation or something. So there's no reason to release that, right? So what are your thoughts on the top? Mostly, I wanted to strategize with you in case there was any politics in play. What would you do?
I mean, I have to first understand what you think, what you're thinking.
You know why I think it's like literally. Oh, yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. I have no reasonable means to assume it is. Okay, never mind then. There should be no reason to release this thing, or even this conversation here. It would be more like, in the event that anything happened, that would not look good, would it? But, and indeed, not quite literally, you're my friend. You ain't at issue today. It's Carrie, the big fat woman, and her good night thing. It's like literally, I assume nothing ain't gonna happen to me. But if it did, and this was just sitting on my phone, that good night would be pretty condemnable, wouldn't it? Like literally, that would not only would Carrie be fucked if I was hurt and killed, and then they found that fucking tape. No, it would, like, if there was politics involved, it'd lead right back to whoever hired Carrie. But since there's no reason to think there is, I think it's better just to leave it on the phone unposted, right?
I would think so, but
Well, I would describe my reasons as immaterial, not just transient. Nothing I could pin down as definitive. I would say, like, if I had any reason to think this, it would be months from now that it would even be an issue. But more like, in the event that anything happened untoward, that good night would have a different meaning, and it would just say, it would, here, hold on a second, let me just, but yeah, I'm just saying, like, that good night, it would have a different meaning if I was killed, and it was found on my phone, but since there's nothing to worry about, and I'm perfectly fine, and will be just A-okay. Yeah, no, I'm worried about nothing is the issue. I'm worried about nothing, and there's no reason to think that was a threat in any way. It was not a threat. It was quite literally just Carrie was saying goodnight to me, an incompetent man. I got worried over nothing. Here, hold on a second. Let me give me a second. I'm gonna stop the recording now, and then we can have a little chat afterwards. Hold on a second.